Hi guys, and welcome to this video. You probably have seen my previous TAG Heuer video about the 5 things I really hate the most about this brand. And like I promised in that video, this is the opposite side of the story. This is the 5 things I really love and respect about TAG Heuer. So a coin has 2 sides, and not everything about a watch company is something you like or love, and not everything is something you hate or despise about the watch company, to use a really strong word. So this is the part of the story about TAG Heuer and what I really love about the video. And if you haven't seen the video about what I really don't like, what I hate about TAG Heuer, you can find a link below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I'm constantly trying to find the time to produce a lot more nice watch content for you guys. And let's roll the intro and we'll get right back to the 5 things I really love and admire TAG Heuer for. Okay, and welcome back. And just before we get started, I'm actually wearing this vintage TAG Heuer 1000 model. It's the TAG Heuer 1000 dive watch model, and this is gold-plated PVD. So I was actually really happy to find this watch on eBay, and later on, a week later, I actually found the original bracelet. So this goes really well with black leather, but I really think it's cool with the original bracelet. As you can see, it's got quite a wear, but well, it just looks so great, this watch. It looks amazing with a black shirt or black leather jacket. So enough about this TAG Heuer 1000 quartz gold-plated PVD watch, and let's get into the 5 things I really admire and love about TAG Heuer. TAG or TAG Heuer. I'm European, so I'm going to say TAG Heuer, but please call the company whatever you prefer. So I'm going to look down during this video, and that's just because I got all my notes on my phone. So number 1, the number 1 reason why I really admire and love TAG Heuer, and of course it's the amazing history. It's the amazing heritage this company has. They have done so much for the watch world. They have done so much for horology, and they have introduced some extremely iconic watches. I would even say some of the watches that TAG Heuer has introduced are among the most legendary watches of all time, wristwatches of all time. And of course, the most iconic watch this company has ever produced is of course the Monaco. And the Monaco was introduced in 1969. It was a very accurate and very modern chronograph racing watch. And of course, you know all the advertising with the famous actor Steve McQueen from the 1970s movie Le Mans movie, where he was wearing this beautiful square blue dialed TAG Heuer Monaco. And this is one of the watches I will definitely be striving to add to my collection at some point in my life, because, and hopefully not before too late, I really love this watch. It's such an iconic watch, and well, I think it's up there. It's up in the top of iconic watches among the Rolexes and the Omegas and the Patek Philippe's and whatever iconic, high-end, beautiful, horological, historical watches you got. So also the Carrera introduced in 1964, and the Monza and the Silverstone are legendary racing watches. And I just want to say that's what I really love about TAG Heuer. Before and after the TAG was added to the company name, when they were called Heuer, they just introduced some amazing, beautiful watches, especially sports watches. So I really love the company for being such a legendary company with models that are just iconic and will never stop being big horological icons. So that was the number one thing of why I really admire and love TAG Heuer. The second thing, well, it's actually also connected to the first point, but it's the big connection that Heuer and TAG Heuer has always had to sports, especially motorsports. Well, I really just admire a watch company with such a strong appeal to a certain type of people or a certain sport or a certain niche. And TAG Heuer has really always had a big, strong connection to sports, and especially back in the days in the 60s and 70s, and of course later on also, they had a big connection to motorsports. And I'm not a big motorsport fan. I'm mostly into football or soccer, if you will. If you're from the Americas, soccer is like the biggest sport in Europe, and I've always been a big soccer fan. Never really been into Formula One or Le Mans or any kind of motorsports, but I really respect the really masculine sports watches that TAG Heuer has. Whatever part of the history of this watch company they have produced, and of course the Monaco, the Monza, the Silverstone, the Carrera, just amazing sports watches, especially the chronographs, amazing sports watches, especially the square watches. They really, they're something, and I admire the TAG Heuer company for being such a strong company when it comes to sports, and later on also the Aqua Racer model and the Formula One model has a big connection to sports. So I love TAG Heuer for being like a fresh sports brand. So that was the second reason of why I really love them. And we shouldn't forget that TAG Heuer is official timekeeping partner of the Premier League in football, and also they have through history produced some of the most accurate and beautiful and amazing stopwatches to time motorsports. So they are really famous for their stopwatches as well, not only the wristwatches. So big respect for TAG Heuer for being such a strong sports brand. Okay, and my point number three of why I really love and admire TAG Heuer, I really like them because they are provocative. They're trying to push the limits. They don't really give anything about the conservative Swiss watch industry. And that is one of the big problems with the Swiss watch industry. They're extremely conservative, especially the most iconic companies. They're not really trying to do a lot of new things. It's slow new things they introduce, and they're really conservative when it comes to pricing. And here I think TAG Heuer is just a company you need to admire. First of all, I think the way that TAG Heuer took up the battle against Apple, a mastodon company like Apple, when they introduced the Apple Watch, which was really seen as a big threat to the automatic watches of the Swiss watch industry. Well, TAG Heuer didn't rest. They just did something which is it's just so cool. I think that I would probably never buy a smartwatch, but I think the TAG Heuer connected smartwatch is just such a bold and intelligent watch to introduce to really try to compete with Apple and the other companies introducing smartwatches. And what I really like about the Connected is that it's a digital smartwatch, but it's still, they didn't forget the heritage. So with the Connected smartwatch, you can actually change the watch face, so you can have the Carrera or the Aqua Racer, for example, watch face on the smartwatch. So that really gives it's like showing some respect to the heritage of producing beautiful automatic timepieces. And also, I like how the Connected has really moved TAG Heuer. It has really taken the company to another level, and I think that's just so bold. Instead of sitting in the mountains and being angry about digital smartwatches, they're really trying to do something instead of just becoming more conservative. They're really pushing the limits. And from what I know, the Connected has been a real success. And what's even better, if you buy a Connected, you can get a Carrera or an Aqua Racer, one of the mechanical pieces, automatic pieces, for a really nice price later on. I think it's 2 years after you can actually go out and get a big discount on. After you buy the Connected watch, you can go out and get a big discount on one of the mechanical pieces. So big respect for TAG Heuer for really taking up the battle against the American mastodon Apple. Also, I like how they in recent years also has really pushed the limits for what you can do with a tourbillon watch. Usually, this is one of the most expensive mechanical watch complications you can buy. They cost like 30, 50, 40, $100,000, and they really caused a stir when they introduced their tourbillon. It's called the Carrera Heuer O2-T watch, and this is a tourbillon watch available for around a third or fourth of the price that you would have to pay if you're buying a tourbillon watch. And this really caused a stir. I think it was the CEO of Patek Philippe, or maybe it was Audemars Piguet, who was really just hating on TAG Heuer because the CEO was just saying, you're destroying the Swiss watchmaking industry. If you introduce such a cheap, okay, it's $16,000 to $20,000 for the TAG Heuer tourbillon watch. If you're introducing such a cheap tourbillon, you're going to ruin the business. But they don't really care with TAG Heuer, because now they have actually pushed the limit. They have introduced a tourbillon watch available at a price where a lot more watch enthusiastic people will have the chance to at some point in their life maybe buy a tourbillon watch. And I really respect TAG Heuer for pushing the limits. I hate conservatism when it comes to inventions, and especially with the watch industry, they are conservative to a point where it's just not fair, because they just keep on pushing up the prices. Just see how expensive, for example, a Rolex is today compared to 10 or 15 and 20 years ago. And it's not because it's more complicated to produce, it's because they have really pushed the prices. And now TAG Heuer is going the opposite direction. And I just want to really express my respect to TAG Heuer for pushing the limits regarding prices. And that is also actually my fourth point. My fourth point of why I really like and love TAG Heuer is actually because they make some good, honest mechanical watches at some prices where they are really entry level to the more luxurious watches. So if you're just getting into watches and you have saved up $1,500 or $2,000, you can actually go and buy a Carrera or an Aqua Racer and really have your first taste on higher end Swiss mechanical watches. And I really respect TAG Heuer for being a brand which is really helping a lot of new watch fans to get into watches in the higher end. They're really an introduction, a gateway brand that really opens the doors for Omega, Rolex, and the other brands. So I really think the conservative Swiss watch industry should somehow also be thankful to TAG Heuer, because if you don't really have $6,000 or $8,000 to buy a brand new Omega or Rolex, well, you can buy an Accurator or a Carrera and really get the feel and get a taste of what a really nice mechanical Swiss-made watch is. And this will probably open the door for you to save up some money and really try to go for the Submariner or the GMT Master or the Seamaster or the Speedmaster, to really get into the watches. And I got both Rolex and Omega, and also got my 2 TAG Heuer pieces, and I love them. And I also owned another Accurator and another and a Carrera, a twin time, and was loving those pieces. So I think they can both be an introduction to the higher end level watches, but also they in themselves are great watches. I don't really subscribe to a lot of the criticism about TAG Heuer producing bad watches. Okay, if you buy a $1,000 Formula One, I wouldn't buy that myself, and I think they're probably not really good watches. But put another $1,000 into the pot, and you will actually be able to go and buy a really nice Accurator or Carrera from new. And I know TAG Heuer watches, they are not really good at holding the value, but you get a great watch. So if you're not even into collecting watches, you just want 1 or 2 great pieces, I think TAG Heuer would be a good proposition for you. If you're looking for a dive watch, a more sports-like dive watch, the Accurator. If you can go find a nice Accurator for $1,200-$1,500 used, or $2,000 new. Actually, as you saw in the hate part of this 2-part about TAG Heuer, this is a brand new Accurator. I bought this year in the Las Vegas TAG Heuer store. It was $1,800, I think, $18,000 or $2,000, and this is a top nice quality watch. So you can actually see TAG Heuer as a really good brand for people who are not really ready to spend several $1,000s for 1 or 2 watches. So respect for being a brand that can help people into higher end watches. And the number 5 thing is actually a little hint back to my number 1 part of what I really hate or dislike about TAG Heuer, and it's the design. As much as I really loathe the designs they did, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, I love how TAG Heuer have designed their watches. Back in the 60s and 70s with the of course the Monaco and the Monza and the Carrera, beautiful watches, some of the most iconic designs. And today still really the Octavia as well. What a beautiful watch, and they're just going at extremely high prices. And with the whole retro kind of hipster wave today, we see in these years when people really want vintage watches, well, you should really look at some of the 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s maybe TAG Heuer models. So beautiful, and that's what I love about TAG Heuer. I think this is a beautiful watch. I think it's such a nice, well thought, extremely well designed watch, and they do the great designs with a lot of their Accurators, Carreras as well, and the newer reintroduced Monza, and actually they're doing the Octavia. They're going to do a remake of the Octavia, which I'm looking really forward to seeing. Excuse me. And I just want to say, a lot of the watches TAG Heuer produce today are so well designed. They look great, and the quality is really nice. And so that's the 5th reason of why I love TAG Heuer as a brand. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I would really like to hear your opinion. What is the best part of TAG Heuer? What do you love about TAG Heuer? And you can just put your comments down below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, remember to subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, well, that's just a thumbs down. It's okay. We don't have to. You don't have to love my videos. And please follow me on Instagram. You will find the link below as well. You can find my email. You can write me. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, we'll see each other. Thank you.